On tonight, mostly clear with the low at 34.
Mike, Jake, what's up?
Tomorrow, mostly
What's going on, guys?
58. And we stay dry Thursday. The sky
We might have to reschedule
53.
Brooks
I'm
from
James
the
Spann with the
film
Alabama
guy
Weather
just because we
Network
had so many
on
people. And I think their
100.9.
times are kind
It's
of overlapping.
41 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
It's time for the Miller's Edge with four-time SEC champion and two-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's arch support experts. Hope everybody's doing great this morning. Hope you guys are ready for a loaded Talking Tuesday. Now, I told you guys yesterday we had a number of guests lined up. We might have to push one of them, maybe Brooks from the Film Guy Network. We might have to push him maybe to tomorrow or the next day just because we had so many people lined up. I think some of the times are overlapping, so it might be better if we do that. But I'll keep you guys posted, but we for sure will be joined here in about 17 minutes or so by Chris Lowe, formerly of ESPN, now with On3, a really good friend of mine. He's known me and my dad for a long time, but you guys definitely know him from covering all things college football, especially Alabama, close with Coach Saban, right? Always having, the latest news, breaking things down for decades, it feels like, man. He's been in the game a while. So we'll talk with Chris Lowe, get his thoughts on Alabama this season, year two under Kalen DeBoer, the SEC championship game, the playoff scenario, his expectations for Alabama, and so forth. We'll do that at 11:30. Plus, like we do every Talking Tuesday, at the top of the hour, we will speak with Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson as well, covering those same topics as well. And like I mentioned, we're originally scheduled to talk with Brooks Austin, the Film Guy, today as well, but I think his time ended up getting a little bit moved back a little bit, and I think we already had Chris and Clint, so it was a little tough to squeeze everything. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. But if not today, don't worry. We'll definitely make it happen relatively soon, if not today. So don't worry about that as well. For usual, got to tell you about our friends over at the Good Feet Store, America's arch support experts. Try before you buy, nothing to lose. Make sure you guys check them out if you haven't already. Right here in Midtown Village, you can find them. They will take care of you just like they've been taking care of me for several years now, man. I was looking for a solution to the pain that I was dealing with, the foot pain, the knee pain for sure. I had quad tendonitis, a lower back, right? Always give me some issues, but thank God I found the Good Feet Store, and that's why I'm urging you guys, man. Make sure you guys check them out if you haven't. Again, you can walk on in there. They'll show you how they work. These things are life-saving, man. You can always go to their website and find the nearest location to you. I know we've got listeners from all over California. I saw some app messages from New York. I know we got Mike and his family and Jake up in New York. We have some more folks up in New York I just saw yesterday. We got folks everywhere. And don't worry, there's a Good Feet store everywhere as well. So go to their website, goodfeet.com. That way you can find the nearest location to you. That way they can help you out just like they help me out. Again, that is the Good Feet store. Improving the quality of people's lives 2 feet at a time. In terms of what we'll dive into today, not only, with the guests, but also want to dive a little bit more into the whole playoff scenario. We didn't talk about that hardly at all. I think maybe the last 10 minutes of the show, we got to mention it, right? But I do want to dive into that a little bit, get y'all's thoughts on. I'll give you mine, right? We know what it is. Alabama does get into the college football playoffs at that number 9 spot. Don't move at all after getting beat pretty badly by Georgia in the SEC championship game, 28-7. But that said, we are set to have a rematch with the Oklahoma Sooners, who had handed us a loss in Bryant-Denny Stadium, Saban Field, not that long ago. A lot of people were maybe eyeing this matchup, hoping we'd get our hands on them again. Well, we've got it. We've got what we wanted, but this time we're headed out to Norman. So we'll talk about that matchup. A lot of injury things that are going on both sides, similar to the whole Georgia deal. We'll talk about that a little bit and more. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Get your minds thinking about that a little bit, because I know we talked a lot about the SEC championship game, which we still can do that, talk about what Alabama needs to do moving forward. But I definitely want to dive into the playoff scenario as well and get y'all's thoughts on that, where we're seated, who we're playing, all that good stuff, because we didn't get a chance to do it yesterday, so I definitely want to do it today. That being said, let's go ahead and hit our quick timeout. When we come back, we'll dive into everything. I want to stay on schedule because I know we got Chris Lowe coming up again at 11:30, so make sure you guys are tuned in for that. Anybody wanted to get on the phone lines, I'll probably urge you to maybe wait till hour number 2, just because I know we'll have Chris and then we'll have Clint like right after that. So maybe around 12, 12:20 or something Central Time. Might be best if you guys want to jump on the phone lines. That way you're not sitting there for a while. I feel bad. I know a lot of people like to call this show, and unfortunately we don't get to a whole bunch of people all the time because I try to be nice and give you guys as much time as possible talking, but maybe I'll have to cut it down a little bit so we can get everybody on here and y'all not waiting as long either. So I'm trying to do better. I'm working on it. Don't worry. I got you guys. That said, first time out in the books. When we come back, we'll keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Arch Sport Experts. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
Redline pass.
What's up, guys? Who we got? We got Mike, got Jake, we got From, Kenji. What's up? Phil, what's up, everybody? Dwight. I can always, if I was a betting man, I could always bet on who's going to be in here first, man. I'd probably win me a lot of money. We got our Miller's Edge faithful in here. Always right on time. Shout out to you guys. Arthur, what's up? Do you have viewers from other countries? That's a great question. Technically, we did. I think the guy was trolling, though. He claims he was from another country, but he was quite the troll. So I would imagine if he was trolling in general, probably trolling about his location. And you gotta understand too. There's a lot of people that do call in that use aliases. I mean, they have one name, just like that. Speaking of trolls, that one guy at one time that was spamming on the Facebook side of things. He was a caller from a while ago. And not ironically, I guess you could have expected this. I mean, the people that call, especially the people that call in and just spew out nonsense. His Facebook name, I guess probably his real name, was not even close to what he goes by on the radio, which, if it's like a nickname, that's one thing. But his radio name was a legit regular name. And then you see when he's, I guess giving up his whole identity on the Facebook side of things, you're like, yeah, dude, you're just making up names. So that said, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm sure we do. I'm sure we do have people outside the country. Because you got to think, like Alabama being the brand that it is, probably a lot of military folks, right, that are Alabama fans that are stationed overseas, and they want to get their Alabama content one way or another. So that's the cool thing about, doing media, especially like this nowadays. Radio has expanded so much, right? I mean, so many people listen to the show via radio with an app. So we tell everybody to download that Tide 100.9 app because you can listen to the shows virtually wherever you're at, and then still radio, still consider radio. And then we've, expanded here with the streaming. So it's cool, man. And we'll keep growing. We'll definitely keep growing. But that's why we need y'all's help, man. Always make sure you like, subscribe, and share too. Share the videos, the lives, all that good stuff. I need to do better about getting clips and stuff pumped out there. That's why I told you guys, if there's anybody that knows how to clip, or if you know anybody that does that, like clip stuff up, man, we need people to help us with that. I think I had somebody comment on here and ask how they could help. Shoot us a message on X at the Miller's Edge. But really, just anytime we're doing segments or we have guests on and there's important talking points or there's breakdowns or whatever. I mean, we just need like 1 minute clips. You see like a lot of streamers, right? They have people that just clip videos all the time. That type of deal. Dang, we're already back. Talking too much. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230. WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Arch Support Experts. All right, so we got Chris Lowe of On3 Sports, formerly of ESPN. You guys know Chris, man. Always one of Coach Saban's most trusted media members. He was always tasked with, breaking news or anytime Coach needed a story. Not saying like he was, controlling the media narrative, but you get what I'm saying. Like Chris would always be tasked with that type of deal. So we'll be joined by Chris Lowe here in about 9 minutes or so. Before we do that, because we'll dive into all things, Alabama, playoffs, all that good stuff. Chase, by the way, who's behind the glass today. Chase, I had an unexpected visitor last night, man. Crazy TB pulled up on me last night. Tony came over, and he was coming through town. He was finishing some stuff that he was handling, like storage stuff. But anyway, he stopped by and we chopped it up, him and his uncle, man. Shout out to Tony and Unc, man. We watched the game last night. Really good game. Eagles, man, it's interesting. They're kind of going through a little bit of a rough patch, man. Jalen didn't have his best game last night, but hey, shout out to D Han, our other teammate. Matter of fact, it was Tony's roommate. Again, I don't know if you guys remember the story when we had Tony on here. I was room 203 in Bryant, and then Tony, Rashawn Evans, Deshaun Han, and Marlon Humphrey were directly above me. So his roommate got a pick while we were watching. It was cool. But anyway, yeah, shout out to Tony. It was cool catching up with him, and I got to show him my setup, man. So hopefully we can get him one and maybe get him streaming and stuff as well. Other thing I was going to mention too, Chase, while I was thinking about it, a lot of noise about this whole playoff deal, especially with like the the former player side of things. Did you see the videos from like Mark Ingram and Damian Harris giving their thoughts on the playoff picture before they came out? Did you see any of that, Chase?
I did indeed. Yeah.
People are going to be like, why are you bringing that up? We don't want to talk about those guys. We're trying to get rid of them. I'm just curious because I'm curious your thoughts, Chase. What did you think of? Like, what went through your mind when you saw? I wouldn't say they were like necessarily advocating that Alabama didn't make it. Or maybe Damian kind of was. Maybe his side sounded like that, but I thought Mark was just saying he doesn't expect them to. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe we need to go back and play it. But how did you take that? Because a lot of fans did not take that very well at all, Chase.
No, they did not, Christian. This is kind of new for me to see like one of their beloved players, like, Mark Ingram, and Damian Harris, man. They're like royalty here. So for them to kind of speak out about their own team, it's just when you're in journalism, you have to speak what's real. You can't just always have crimson tide glasses on. And I think fans are learning, like, hey, like as much as they played for us, they have a voice too. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, Christian, I was a little shocked because, for example, for Mark, he's been real adamant about Ty Simpson and how they've been playing this year. And he's been a big supporter for him. So for him to kind of flip the switch a little bit, it kind of threw me off. But Damian, I'm not surprised. He's always been vocal about Bama and things they need to work on, things that he's seeing and stuff like that. But that's just sports journalism. They're not always gonna roll up in a Crimson Tide suit with a helmet on. So it's just how it is and how fans perceive it. But you gotta be brave because you see it on Twitter. I've been scrolling all day. They are not happy. Some people that ride or die fans, they don't want Damian back in T-Town. They're like, you can keep it. Yeah. So that's what's been going on.
Yeah, it's getting a little bad with Damian. And like you said, I don't think people were too surprised hearing his take. But listen, here's my thing on it. Listen, I'm an advocate for. I want people to say what they feel. Good, bad, indifferent. Like, I feel like that's how it should work, especially in the space. You mentioned it, like with journalism. And I think that's somewhat of an issue when it comes to former guys when they are in these media roles. The expectations that fans have. I don't think it's personal. I don't think it's accurate, right? I feel like if you're doing a job, it shouldn't matter really where you played at or whatever. Like, your job now is to see the game from an analyst perspective, and you almost should really, if you want to be great at it, take away the logos and the brands and just break it down from that perspective. Now, are you going to have some, internal bias towards your of course, I'm not saying that. And hell, I'm biased towards Alabama, not, we're to the point where I'm just going to sit there and spew things out that I know aren't true. That's why I tell everybody when people are like, "Oh, Christian, I don't need to say anything." I always look out for Alabama, meaning like I'm not going to sit there and like be so critical where I'm trying to put them down, so to speak. But if I feel we played bad, I feel we played bad. And I think that's what those guys should do. I'll be honest, the way I look at it, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, but real quick, before I even get into that, this was Mark Ingram. This is what he said in terms of how he felt about Alabama's chances of making the playoffs before the rankings came out the night before.
Bama, you played Georgia in the SEC championship, you lose by 21. I got too much Bama in me, but you're out. Now, Miami and Notre Dame should both get in my opinion. I think that is the decision that the committee is going to have to make, because if you have 2 bad losses in the championship game, you have to play one in the championship game out.
So that was what Mark said. I don't think Mark's was nearly as bad, I guess, I shouldn't even say bad. I guess, I don't know. I'm looking for the word, but I can't find it right. I guess, I don't know. Critical maybe as Damian's was, but this is how I think they're viewing it, honestly. Because I understand, like, when he says it like that, like, because what was going through my head was, man, the last thing we needed was to get beat up like this in the eyes of the committee. And that's exactly what we just went out there and did. And when you watch it from that perspective, and then this is what I think it boils down to, Chase. I know we got to hit a timeout here in a second. I think it boils down to this. Some people weigh the whole body work, the resume, a little bit more than others. If you do that, Alabama, without a doubt, there's no question about it, deserved that playoff spot. It's not even like that's the end of the debate. Alabama had the best resume pretty much by far, I would say. Only thing you can knock really is, the Florida State loss, then the most recent one, well, they got beat by Georgia. But that's negated when you say, well, they went on the road and beat Georgia at home, right? So if you want to say, the Florida State, they have the worst loss, but in terms of resume, strength of schedule, all that good stuff, Alabama without a doubt. If you lean more into the eye test, which I think Damian mentioned, and I know that's probably how Mark's kind of viewing it a little bit too. Again, as football players, you naturally do that. You hear my dad say it all the time. He goes off eye test, which I think is pretty important, right? Because I think sometimes you get caught up on stats. You miss the fact that, like, if you just turn on the tape, let's just be honest, Alabama has not played great football over the last 4 or 5 games. Then, you should, as an Alabama fan, you can't really argue that, because everybody sits there complaining and calling in these shows and asking what's going on. So we know that's been the case, at least on the offensive side of the football / special teams. So I think it's really just kind of like how your brain works, how you look at it type deal. So I don't know. I just was curious y'all's thoughts on that. And those are mine. Like I said, I'm not mad at anybody for saying whatever I think you should. But I can understand some people like, all right, you're going a little too hard. That's my thing. I'm like, be fair. Hell, even be a little critical, but maybe don't beat up on people, which I don't think Mark did at all here. I think he just was being very honest. Damian might have been beaten up a little bit, but hey, I respect anybody with their honest opinion. Let's hit a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll be joined by Chris Lowe of On 3, and we'll talk about Alabama and the playoff picture, all that good stuff coming up. If you guys got any questions, you guys can always drop in the chat, all that good stuff as well. And then later, we'll get to the phone lines. 205-342-9904 is the number. Quick timeout. Chris Lowe joining us when we come back.
Hey guys, are you ready to take control of your health, energy, and performance? Primetime Men's Health Clinic is ready to help. Their clinic is built around that men deserve better care, private and tailored to their lives. So if you're experiencing low testosterone, weight gain, hair loss, ED, or just want to perform like you did in your 20s, go to primetimemensclinic.com and change your life. That's right, guys. Change your life by going to primetimemensclinic.com.
Tired of cooking during the holidays? Let Chow's Country Buffet take care of it for you. Chow's Country Buffet, Tuscaloosa's best buffet restaurant, offers an all-you-can-eat spread filled with fan favorites, Chinese dishes, classic Southern staples, fried whole catfish, fried chicken, seafood, a wide variety of vegetables, and so much more. Bring the whole family and celebrate Thanksgiving.
All right, perfect. Yeah, sorry, man. I feel like I must be getting old because it's like I'm good with technology in a way, but then I'll be sitting on my phone like Tony was getting on me yesterday because I'm sitting here because we were trying to call one of our other teammates. He's like, add him in real quick. I'm like, damn, wait, how do you add somebody in the call? He's like, bro, you sound like my mom, bro. I'm like, yo, chill. I'm like, I just really don't even like edit it and stuff. I'm cool with, but I don't like a lot of stuff on my phone. I don't really do like that. I'm like, damn, now I feel bad when I used to be impatient with my parents. Like, yo, just do this. They're like, I don't know. Let's see. Issue is our offense has regressed in South Carolina game. We've not adjusted our game plan, and we're predictable. Y'all keep saying these former players should taught these players. Not listening to none of that. You're talking about the current players? Yeah, unfortunately, current players, I mean, I think they'll listen. So at least, a good bit of them. I know we had this whole debate when we were talking about the whole Terrion thing. I think some of them will listen, but like, will they really register though? You know what I'm saying? Hell, you got to remember, they got Ha up there. They've got former players around, that can sit there and talk to them. I'll be honest with you. You probably have more luck of a response rate from those guys who spend as much time as they do with them than to say, like, just, another former guy to show up and say something. I hate to say it like that, but a lot of these guys nowadays, man, I mean, like, it's hard to tell them stuff sometimes. I mean, because of the position they're in or whatever. I mean, I think this generation is just a little bit different too. They'll listen to Mark, not Damian. I mean, I'm sure they probably will. I mean, like, Mark's chopped it up with the backs before. But at this point, this is what I would ask. I mean, like, what do you guys want the former players to go up there and say? You know what I mean? Like, talk, like, because here the reason I say it like that is, I mean, if you're talking about just like technique and stuff, I'm sure they probably listen to that a little bit more. But like talking about the standard and stuff, I just feel like we're at a point now where that whole conversation is just a little bit different than what it used to be. I don't know why, but it just feels a little bit different. I feel like I wouldn't say the whole talk of the standard just got played out, but I feel like over the last couple of years, it just doesn't hold the same weight as it used to. It almost is like we used it so much, a standard this, a standard that now I don't even know if anybody really has a clear understanding of really what the standard is / was, if I'm being completely honest with you. Especially these young guys. I don't know if they'll really understand. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Arch Supports Network. We're now joined by our first guest of the day, good friend of ours here on the Miller's Edge, known him for quite some time. But now we're joined by Chris Lowe of On3 Sports. Now, Chris, it's been a while, man. How's everything going?
I'm doing great, man, Kristen. It has been too long. It's always good to catch up with any member of the Miller family.
Thank you. No, it definitely is. I wish my dad was on here, man. He's been, I'm not sure if you're aware, but he's taking on the lead pastor role at a church in Greenville now. So he's doing that pretty much. Yeah, he's doing that like full time and leading like men's group and stuff. So doesn't get his opportunity to hop on here as much, but I'll definitely tell him I had you on here and we got to talk a little bit of Alabama football because I know he'll be upset he missed out. But Chris, I got to ask you, man, because you've been doing this a long time. You've been around the game a long time. There's a lot going on right now in this college football space. First, I want to start off with Alabama. You covered us here with Coach Saban for years, and you continue to cover the program, getting to know Kalen DeBoer. How would you assess year two for Kalen DeBoer so far? 10-3 record, makes it to the SEC championship game. Unfortunately, we saw how that went. Not a great performance, but we still find ourselves into the playoff picture with the rematch against Oklahoma. How would you say year two has gone so far for Kalen DeBoer?
The start wasn't great, obviously, losing at Florida State. And the end was probably not what anybody wanted. I don't think they played their best football, Christian, the last couple of weeks of the season. But the middle part where they had that gauntlet of teams, all those ranked teams in a row, and they won them all. I think 4 straight against ranked teams. The first time that had been done in 4 straight weeks in the SEC. To me, that was them at their best, and they played good football. They got better. So, we've seen Bama in that middle part play the kind of football I think it takes to win a championship, and then they started and finished not so great. So I guess the question is, what version of Bama do we see in the playoff? And I never really doubted they would get in the playoff. I know there was some question since they got beaten soundly in the championship game, the SEC championship game, when they get in. But they were the number 1 seed going in to the SEC title game. I just didn't see any way, Christian, that 4 SEC teams would get in behind them as far as 4 teams that were behind in the regular season. And Bama didn't. So I just thought the resume sort of spoke for itself. They had the best win in the regular season, probably in the country, winning at Georgia. I think consistency, and playing better, not putting so much on Kyle Simpson in the pass game, running the football better. They're going to have to do those things in the playoff to make a deep run.
Absolutely. No, that's definitely something that's been concerning, the inconsistency in the running game. And and really, like you mentioned, just over the back half of the season, it seems that the offense has regressed some and just can't really find a rhythm. And I understand we've had some injuries, had some guys banged up, but even before that, I would argue the trajectory that we've been on offensively has been going the opposite direction. You mentioned, Chris, that you had no doubt that they were going to make the college football playoffs, and I agree with you. I think when you look at the body of work throughout the entirety of the season, it was evident that they had the best resume out of the quote unquote bubble teams. But I did hear some of my former, teammates and guys like Mark Ingram, they expressed that they did not expect that to happen. And to me, that was probably basing it off of the eye test and what they've seen. And just like you mentioned, not knowing what version of Alabama that you might get. When it comes to that, Chris, and you cover all of college football, when you look at teams like Notre Dame and you look at a team like Miami, how do you see Alabama, matching up to those guys from an eye test level? I'm just curious because again, you've seen these other schools and the way they're playing right now versus how we've been playing. How would you see Alabama, sizing up to those teams?
I thought, Christian, that the best thing that they did after disappointing loss to open the season was they got better on defense, especially in the fourth quarter when it mattered. I thought Kane Womack's guys played really well. They took the ball away in some key situations, made things happen on defense. Now, they didn't obviously play as well against Georgia in the SEC title game, but, it's hard when you're just anemic offensively. I mean, you played on that side of the ball. It's difficult defensively when, you're not getting any support from the offense. So I think defensively they have shown during much of the season that they can be a good enough team defensively to win against anybody. I just think it gets down to offense and not being sort of hit and miss the way they've been, and not being – so right now when you can't run the ball, again, I'm preaching to the choir, you're easy to defend.
Right.
Because everyone's going to load up, they're going to come after the quarterback, and getting healthy, I think, is going to be important for them across the board. And maybe Todd Simpson hanging in the pocket, because I love their receiving corps. They got a bunch of guys that have made plays for them this year. Hang in the pocket a little bit more, get the ball to those guys and let them go to work. Todd's made a lot of off-script plays this year. And sometimes, as a coach, you want that. Sometimes you don't. But just, I think, overall consistency is the thing that, that's, to me, that's going to be what gets them. But they're capable. And I think the fact that they've been so battle-tested helps. And then there's nothing they'll see. I mean, they play, they get another shot at Oklahoma in the first round. But I don't think there's anything they're going to see in the playoffs that they're not ready for, because they had one of the tougher schedules in college football. And as I go back to what I said in the outset, when you play the kind of grind they did 4 or 5 straight weeks against SEC teams and you come out unscathed, to me, all that does is prepare you for what you're going to see in the postseason, because now, it's one and done.
Exactly. No, you're right. And being battle tested will help you out, knowing that you've got a true gauntlet coming up. Because like you said, one and done, first one being on the road in Norman against an Oklahoma team that gave you an L during the regular season. We know how we played in that one. Not a great game. Definitely lost the turnover battle. Had 3 on offense, didn't get any on defense. So hopefully we can have a different outcome next time around, December 19th, when we do take on the Sooners. We're joined by Chris Lowe, senior reporter for On 3, another South Carolinian. Well, at least you have ties to South Carolina, Chris. But let me ask you this: when you look at Kalen DeBoer and this staff, right? They just had Jamarcus Shepard, take a head coaching job at Oregon State. You got Ryan Grubb here. You got Kane Womack on the defensive side of things. How are you feeling about this staff in terms of maybe some other guys potentially, I don't want to say poach, but being hired off? I mean, I know a lot of people had some concerns there. Do you feel like there could be another coach or two that we see make some changes after this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, when you always want to get a staff where you got guys that you think are legitimate head coach candidates. Now, a couple guys, Mo Lindquist was a head coach. Kane Womack was a head coach when they came, and I know Kane's name was out there pretty prominently in that Arkansas head coaching job search. So he was in play, and I would expect you're going to see other guys. Ryan Grubb, I think, is another coach that maybe not this cycle, but maybe next cycle. There'll be some schools interested in. And you mentioned Jamarcus getting the Oregon State head job. So I've always, listen, it's what a team does in the field that counts. But when you look at staffs, to me, if I'm a head coach, I want guys on my staff, Christian, that are head coaching material.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Kalen has been able to assemble that. And he's also been able to bring in guys like Jamarcus, but they're going to have to replace him. And he did a really good job with those receivers. But you like having guys that you have ties to and have coached with previously. And you know each other. Guys like Ryan Grubb, clearly. Those guys have worked well together. Even at Indiana, he was there with Womack. So I think when you look around the staff, he's been able to surround himself with people. But you also want, you want new ideas and fresh ideas. And you want to bring in guys sometimes from other programs, other systems. He kept a couple of the guys from Nick's staff when he got there when I was smart. So I think he'll always be looking. The good coaches always do. They look to self-scout after the year. We know he's got one position open, with Jamarcus leaving, and I would say he'll look far and wide to find whoever he thinks is the best receivers coach.
Absolutely. And I can't help but ask you this while we're talking about coaches, right? Kalen DeBoer's name did come up with the Penn State search. A lot of people knew it probably wasn't true or didn't have any legs. He came out and confirmed that, hey, there's nothing to it. There's no communication on either side. I'm sure you probably were digging around and asking, is that the case? There was never any legs to it, or do you know where that whole thing kind of grew from?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think Kalen's, in my interaction with him, I think he was so zoned in on, second year at Bama, trying to get Bama to the playoff, getting that bad taste out of his mouth and the program's mouth with the season did last year. And, the thing that kept coming up with him and any interest in Penn State, and I don't think there ever really was, Christian, is, he ran to the challenge to replace Nick Saban as Alabama's coach. A lot of guys didn't want any part of that. Right. And I can't say I blame them. I mean, that's a tough mountain to climb coming in behind a guy like that. He ran to that challenge, and I don't think he ever had any intention of running away from that challenge after just 2 years. They're recruiting well at a really high level, and certainly there's commitment there to win at a high level. And I don't see Kalen, the way I've got to know him over the last couple of years, being the kind of guy just because there's high expectations, and yet people were upset after the last season ended, and certainly upset after the Florida State game this year. But he came to Alabama because of those expectations. You got to remember, he was the national title game his last game at Washington. Yeah. So he understands, what it takes to compete and play for championships. And there's no doubt in my mind that he wants to be the guy that gets that Bama back to a championship. I'll say this about Kalen. He evolved and adapted, Christian, the way he coached his guys this year. There was a harder edge to him as the season went on. And when you go from one part of the country to the other, one league to another, sometimes there's different ways you have to do it. There's ways that you need to go about your business to get your guys to respond to you better. And I thought he did that as the year went on, and his staff did that. So I give him credit for that. Now it gets down to how they play in the playoff, because having played there and played at the highest level, that people are going to remember. They will forget that you lost badly to Georgia in the championship game. They will forget that you went to Georgia and won if you make a deep run in this playoff and play your best football.
You're spot on, and it's funny. One, when you mentioned during the Penn State search, you always thought back to, he responded to the challenge at Alabama. That was the immediate thing that came to my mind, was that he hasn't even completed year 2 here. Why would you go ahead and up and leave and take on a whole nother challenge when you hadn't even really explored this challenge that you just mentioned? You left a national championship team to come here. That didn't make much sense. So I was thinking the same thing. And in terms of how he's adapted, I've been saying to a lot of our listeners that too, is that for me, being around, practicing some of the scrimmages and just being up there, it was evident. Year one was kind of like not like a getting to know party, but you could just sense, he really was following the direction of a lot of the guys on the team and really kind of getting acclimated, so to speak, maybe. And then this year, the temperature was turned up a notch, and I think the players responded really well to it. Maybe year one he was a little unsure how that would be, but year two, I think it really paid dividends for him and this team. That just the edge, right? You saw how we looked week one against Florida State. Then after that, it was totally different. So I agree 1,000% with everything you said there, Chris. We're joined by Chris Lowe of On 3 Sports. Chris, I got maybe one or two more questions, and thank you so much for hopping on with us. I want to circle back to the playoff picture real quick, because with all the controversy going on and people trying to, throw in their 2 cents, the JMUs and the Tulanes of the world, some people saying they're wasting 2 playoff spots. Others argue, well, hey, I mean, they have to have some type of opportunity. Some people call it a charity case, but I mean, it depends on who you ask. Notre Dame, on the eye test, they look to be a good football team. Hell, they also just played for a national championship the year prior, but they lack a conference, and that came around to bite them this time. And then you look at, like Coach Saban mentioned during the show, about the ACC and their issues when it comes to, having the tiebreakers for conference championship games, which sent a 7-5 football team to play for one while Miami was at home. When you look at this, Chris, because I trust your guidance, you're an expert on college football, man. If you were in the position to make the necessary changes to fix this whole playoff system, what would those changes be, Chris? I mean, and I'm saying in terms of, would you expand the playoffs? Would you make certain teams join certain conferences, scheduling, things like that? What do you think would be the fix to all this madness, if there is one?
I think the biggest problem right now, Christian, is the inclusivity factor that we have in the playoff. And I'm not saying that's bad in theory. I think if you're going to play a whole season, if you're Tulane or Boise State or South Florida or James Madison, you want to play for something. You want to play for a chance to get into the playoff. But maybe you do a little bit of what basketball has done. You have a play-in game. The 2 highest ranked group of 5 teams play each other for a spot in a playoff. I think that helps a little bit. And you don't have 2 spots, because right now you can't really say in good conscience it's the 12 best teams playing for the national championship, because it's not. If that's legit and you are trying to get the 12 best teams in, well, Notre Dame's in that 12, and I get, their schedule. They lost A&M, they lost 2 best to Miami. I was fortunate. I saw 8 of the top 10 teams play in person this year. Notre Dame was one of those. I went up to Pitt to watch them play because I wanted to see these teams live in person. You go down the field before the game, watch them. I just feel like there's a certain benefit to doing that. And they were playing at the end of the year as well as anybody. I bet you, in fact, I saw some odds the other day, if you just went Vegas odds on who had the best chance to win games, they'd be in the top 5 or 6 right now. They'd be favored over most teams in the country, with the exception maybe the top 4 or 5.
Wow.
So I think maybe the play-in game for a group of 5 teams, so you have some representation. But I don't think there should be a blanket rule that says if you're among the top 2 or top 5 conference champions, you automatically get in, because conferences aren't created equal, as we know.
Exactly.
And I think adding some teams would help. So let's say this year you went to 16 and you had my play-in scenario. Well, that means that Notre Dame would get in. That means that Vanderbilt would have gotten in. And Vanderbilt certainly deserved to be in. And probably BYU, would be the other team. And now there'd still be some people on the outside looking in. Texas would be saying, hey, we deserve to be in. Maybe Texas would get in that scenario in a 16-team field. So they, to me, Christian, have to make a decision. Do we want it to truly be the 12 best teams in college football, or do we want to be more inclusive and give the group of 5 teams a couple of spots in? It's, to me, you can't really have both. And I think that's sort of, and maybe a way to better do that or better accomplish that is to go 16 teams. I also personally would not mind seeing them rank them. Just 1 through 12.
Yeah.
And do away with all automatic qualifiers, because this year Duke didn't get in, but Duke won the ACC title with 5 losses. I'd like to see him just say, all right, here's the 12 best teams. We're going to rank them based on metrics, based on head-to-head play, based on key road games, key road wins, who beat the most ranked teams, resume, and then you have a little bit of an eye test. You have all those things combined, and this is the way we are ranking them without regard to what conference they're in or what they did in any certain conference.
I agree. That's what I've been saying. I understand the inclusivity factor to an extent, but at the same time, when it's at the expense of leaving a quality football team like Notre Dame out, that they would not be, a 18, 20 point, underdog, right? In a matchup in the first round. To me, that's when it stops making sense. I want to see a JMU have a great story like you see maybe in college basketball, but when it's at the expense of a Notre Dame team who's much better of a football team, much more qualified to go take on Oregon, per se, I feel like something needs to change. So yeah, we're definitely we're along the same lines there. And to me, I think just taking the top 12 teams, I agree with you, maybe going to 16, but even if you just take what you said and just take the top 12 teams and get away with the whole automatic qualifiers deal, because conferences definitely are not created equal. It's SEC, Big Ten, and pretty much the rest at this point. So 100% with that. Well, Chris, I don't want to hold you too long. I appreciate you hopping on with us, and I know everybody already knows of you and your work, but before I let you go, man, feel free to share how they can keep up with all the good stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, well, thanks. I really appreciate you inviting me to come on. It's On3. Just go to on3.com, and we're going to roll out our All-America team tomorrow. I think it's going to drop, and there is some Alabama representation on there. I'll leave it at that. A little bit of a tease. But a lot of Ohio State and Indiana representation too, which if you'd have told me that, not so much Ohio State, but if you told me that 5 years ago that there'd be as much Indiana representation, I would have said you're crazy. But
let alone I was number in one seed.
Yeah, I was in Indy Saturday to watch the Big Ten game, Christian, and that defense, man. And as you know, man, I watched you guys play. I've seen a lot of really good SEC defenses who are good in their front seven, who have a covered corner like a D'Angelo Pons, safety like Lewis Moore. They're legit on defense. They get off the football. They tackle well. They game tackle. I was really, really impressed with what I saw from Indiana on Saturday in Indianapolis.
Yeah. 46, whoever that is, I don't know if he's an outside linebacker or what position. Is it Isaiah Jones maybe? I just pulled up their depth chart. I think he's listed as maybe a second team will or weak side backer, but he had himself a day. I just remember seeing him flying all over the place. It looked like he had a couple sacks, and I was like, man, this dude, they've got players like that, I mean, you just don't really know too much about. Maybe it's just me because I don't watch them consistently, but I'm like, I know some people are kind of questioning, well, are they really legit? I know they're in the Big Ten, but after watching them play Ohio State, who I don't think played their best game per se, but I was impressed too, Chris. I'll be honest with you. I know a lot of Bama fans, think, oh, we got Oklahoma then Indiana. I'm like, I think some people might be overlooking Indiana a little bit. I mean, they're a really good football team, so that wouldn't be an easy challenge, but hopefully we can get there and see that matchup. I think it would be a good one for sure. But we'll be on the lookout for that All-American list. I'm excited to see who's on there. And again, big thanks for jumping on here, Chris. I'll tell my dad that we had you on. I know he's going to be jealous, but I'll make sure next time that we get you on here, I'll try to see if he can sneak out of one of his little Bible studies he's doing and jump on here to catch back up with you as well.
Yeah, well, please do, Christian. It's good to catch up, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Always, Chris. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too.
Yes, sir. Good deal. That's Chris Lowe of On3. Big thanks to him joining us on this Talking Tuesday. You heard him. What did you think about his thoughts? If Chris was commissioner, you heard what he would do. He said, maybe a 16-team playoff, maybe switch it up a little bit, and instead of having the automatic qualifiers, just the straight top 12 teams, which that's what I've been a proponent for, right? Just get the 12 best football. We want good football. We want to see the best football teams play football in a playoff. I mean, that's what it's about. Let's do it. So big thanks to Chris and all his insight and knowledge. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we'll be joined by another guest on the phone lines. We got Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson coming right up right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store. America's Arch Support Experts. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
Tuscaloosa Mazda, they are expanding their showroom to serve you better. Come see their new and pre-owned Mazda lineup, offering fuel efficiency, advanced technology, and plush comfort. Tuscaloosa Mazda, 3100 Skyland Boulevard East, or online at TuscaloosaMazda.com.
Whether you're a working professional or an active dad, Game Day Men's Health in Tuscaloosa offers convenient expert back care for all men looking to feel and perform their best. They specialize in testosterone therapy, ED, weight loss therapy, and peptide therapy. Their easy 3-step personalized treatment plan will get you on the right.
Maybe Clint wants to join the stream. We'll see. Love to get him on the stream, man. I know he's got plenty to talk about after that game, man. Yeah, what'd y'all think about that? Let's see. No more teams. They just get rid of the Bulls and have a 2014 playoff simple, huh? I mean, listen, unfortunately, man, bowl games are starting to take a hit, man. I mean, as you guys have seen, that's the other thing we got to talk about. I forgot to ask Chris about that. I mean, what are his thoughts on the future of bowl games, given that we've already seen Notre Dame and I think maybe another team or two opt out. Sorry, I'm trying to get this light right. That's about right. 4 playing games of lower seeds during the conference championship take top 12. Playing games could definitely be a thing. This is what I think in terms of right, to maintain some of that inclusivity of the group of 4, group of 5 teams, whatever it's called now. Force them to schedule at least one Big Ten and at least one SEC team during the regular season. Right? Basically say hey, if you guys want a chance at making the playoffs, you're not saying they have to win that game, but at least schedule it so they have that metric to say, all right, you played 1 or 2 teams from, and I know some of them end up doing that, but I'm saying make it a requirement for them and then see how they fare in that game. That way you can judge it. So if you have, a team like JMU or Tulane at the end of the year, you can go back and say, all right, well, with your 2-game, I guess, I don't know, not qualifier, but I don't know, litmus test, this is how you fared, right? I don't know. I mean, I know that might be a little difficult to make everybody do that in terms of scheduling and conflicts with all that. I don't know. But I think that could at least maybe help give you an idea, or just do the play-in deal, or make it happen as a play-in. Take Texas, those first teams out, take Texas, take Vanderbilt, and then make them have a play-in with the Tulane/JMU. Might not be, in JMU and Tulane's best interest, but prove it. I mean, if you want to spot in the playoffs, go beat a team like that. Phillip Rivers just signed the Colts. Man, first of all, no, I'm good on that. Phillip Rivers plays quarterback, and he signed with the practice squad probably so he can just be security and a vet in that quarterback room. Then I don't anticipate seeing him really play unless he pulls a Joe Flacco type deal. The bowl games, younger talent play. Yeah, no, I don't want to see the bowl games go away, but listen, if they left Alabama out, you probably would see some changes made to the championship or the conference championships. By leaving a team like Notre Dame out, we're now seeing some changes to the whole bowl game thing. It was either way they went, it was inevitable. There's going to be people upset, people trying to make a stand, and some type of change that's probably going to lead to further action, right? So, kind of part of it, Scheduling cupcakes not the answer. Well, if you're talking about the Eastern Illinois cupcakes, no, that's definitely not an answer. But I'm saying if there's a team like a JMU or Tulane or one of these teams, so you know what I mean, that's a group of 5 that finds themselves in this scenario. I'm just saying basically tell those teams, if you want a shot at making the college football playoffs at the end of the year, you have to have scheduled at least 2 Power 4, Big Ten or SEC opponents, at least one of each or something like that. And then for the other teams that don't do that, just say they don't qualify. I'm just saying maybe make some type of standard that they have to qualify, not just because I don't think comparing their resume is fair to like a JMU. Like to me, like that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Like why the eye test has to matter some. Like this is what I'm saying. You can't be too mad at a guy like Mark Ingram or even Damian Harris when they lean on the eye test a little bit, because it has to matter. If not, then you'd have a team like JMU, and like yes, you can lean into the schedule deal, but like let's just call a spade a spade. To hell with the schedules and all that stuff. Take Texas, take JMU, based off an eye test. Like, come on now. I mean, that takes care of all that crap. Easy. That's why I think the eye test does have to matter some. Eye test tells me Notre Dame plays better than Alabama late in the season. Like, people don't want to hear that, Dom, but unfortunately, I hate to say this, but if you did the eye test for Notre Dame and Alabama the last few weeks, I mean, I can understand why people were making an argument that they should have made it. That's just honesty. Like, of course, I'm glad. I want Alabama. I think, again, with all the criteria, Alabama deserved to be in there. Let me say that again. I know people take stuff out of context. Don't try to exile me. Alabama deserved to be there. But based off the eye test, Alabama has not been playing great football last 4 or 5 weeks. That's just a fact. And if you take the crimson glasses off, I mean, we can all agree on that. Like, we have not looked our best. And that is, to me, I think that's fair to be concerned about that. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Art Sport Experts. Big thanks to Chris Lowe of On3 Sports, who just joined us on the phone lines. Now we move on to our next guest, who joins us every Talking Tuesday at the top of the hour. We've got Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson. Well, Clint, we talked about it last week. We were hoping this would be a positive, happy, celebratory Talking Tuesday with you joining us at the top of the hour. But unfortunately, it's a little reminiscent of post-Oklahoma. Clint, number one, I hope you're doing well. Number two, I know you got plenty to say and plenty to address here, man. Let's just jump straight into it, man. What did you walk away thinking after watching Alabama drop to Georgia in the SEC Championship 28-7, man?
Well, you compared it to the Oklahoma game. When your offense and your special teams are not doing anything to help out your defense, it really doesn't matter how good your defense is. It's tough to win football games, and that's something that we definitely learned against Oklahoma, and we learned it on Saturday against Georgia. And, I will continue to reiterate, yes, injuries do play a part. I mean, it impacts the outcome of a game, but it's not because, it's not really an excuse, because that's an element of playing football. Is you got Georgia, who had some injuries, and actually, quite a few, not as many as Alabama, but quite a few, and they figured out a way to overcome it. One of the easy ways to protect a young center who's having to step up for a very good player in Drew Bobo, you get some interceptions and you block a punt and you do some things to put that offense in a position where it can put points on the board. It can take pressure off of not only the quarterback, but that center. You give them short fields instead of having to drive the length of the field. Georgia did what it needed to do to protect its banged up or injured players way better than Alabama. So Georgia gets credit for that, no doubt about it. Alabama's offense, they struggled without all these injuries. Not to this extent. So you can definitely say that it made things worse, but you also can't say, hey, they couldn't run the football because they have all these injuries everywhere, because we've seen them not be able to run the football when they have had a lot of these guys healthy and available. So, I've never understood the whole, hey, don't bring up injuries. That's nothing but an excuse. It's not really an excuse. It's explaining how things happen in the way that they happen. But Alabama did not have the ability to overcome those injuries and, figure out a way to help their guys win the game. And you got to give Georgia a lot of credit, because they came out, they were motivated. You could tell they were playing inspired football. They wanted it more. You could just tell. And so they deserve all the credit in the world. Alabama's now got to go back to the drawing board, and they got to get some guys healthy and start trying to figure some of this stuff out. You got a couple of weeks, but Oklahoma the second time around, especially if our Mason Thomas is available, it's not going to be an easy football game, and it's in Norman. So you better hope you have some of this stuff figured out.
No doubt about it. And I agree 100%, man. I was saying, just watching the game, just for some odd reason, it did feel like, and you knew Georgia was going to have that motivation. Hell, I could tell y'all from firsthand experience. I know Kirby and I know what he was telling those guys in that locker room. So, I mean, I expected them to come out like that, but I didn't necessarily expect us to just, I wouldn't say we looked flat because I thought defense, came out early on and had some juice, had some plays, some hits, and were fired up. But it seemed like offense, man, it's a similar vibe that I've felt the last few weeks where there just isn't a lot of confidence, exuding from our guys, whether it's from Ty, receivers, like and even like seeing stuff like when Ty got hit and literally I counted 4 offensive linemen just kind of sitting there and they kind of watched Ty. I mean, one guy helped him up. I think Daniel Hill helped him out, but then like that was it. Nobody even said anything. And I don't want them to get a penalty, but I'm like, man, that's just I don't know, just kind of interesting. Yeah, very strange, especially for I had Slade Bolden texted me like immediately and was like, I can't believe what I'm witnessing, man. I'm just like, hey, man, it's different generation, I guess. But you're right. I mean, the story of the game, really, like you mentioned, just kind of putting ourselves in bad positions. This time, not one all the turnovers, but like you mentioned, the block punt and interception did all the short field. I mean, Georgia literally, I think all their points except maybe one touchdown came from literally them starting like past the 50 or some, at least close to it, which like you said, man, your defense, there's only so much they can do. And even against LSU and South Carolina, they're put in bad spots. They stepped up big, held a lot of those drives to field goals. But this time around, man, when you're playing, like you said, an inspired Georgia team with some really good, players themselves, I mean, at some point, man, that bending is probably going to break. So I'm with you on that. Let me ask you this, Clint. So you look at this Alabama offense now. This makes probably 4, maybe 5, I guess, weeks straight now that, well, I guess Eastern Illinois, if you really look at the ones, they didn't play their best ball that game, and they should have given the opponent. But, that we have not looked good offensively. Like you mentioned, you got the Oklahoma matchup coming up. We're going on the road playing them. They do have a good defense. We know that. I mean, from what you've seen, Clint, like how confident are you that this Alabama offense can find a way to get back in rhythm? You mentioned the injuries. I know people bring that up, and yes, I expect us to be a better football team with healthier, players out there. But like you mentioned, it's not like these issues just popped up once we were injured. I mean, they've been there, and I've been talking about them. I know you've been talking about them. How confident are you, Clint, that we can clean some of this stuff up? Because when I watch the tape, man, I mean, it's the same old stuff over and over. Not finishing blocks, not executing, just like little details, but they're not being fixed. I mean, how confident are you that they get cleaned up for Oklahoma, Clint?
It's fair to have questions about it. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm overly confident. Now, granted, I do think getting healthy would help. I mean, Parker Brailsford right now, his limitations, he is one of the best centers in college football, if not the best center, and he is not even coming close to playing like it, and you can't blame him. You can tell he is really hobbled. His entire game is built off athleticism and scrappiness, and it's just very difficult to kind of be a hunter like he is when you're playing through an ankle injury or a foot injury of some type that's got your ankle, taped up, and you're trying to do all those things that you've always been able to do, and it's not as easy, and especially when you're going against good teams, and good defenses. You're going against good players, and Alabama's certainly going to be going against good guys, when they play Oklahoma, and they've already proven that. But it's just, do I think that they can get some of this stuff corrected and it could be a much better product than you saw against Georgia on Saturday? 100%. Am I expecting it to be the first Georgia matchup type of impact or, no. To be honest with you, I just, at this point in the season, I mean, I'm sure they'll have some stuff dialed up. But I mean, they kind of are who they are right now. Ty Simpson has not been playing his best football. He has had to overcome a lot. One of the things that I've kind of said, Jalen Milroe's escapability, the explosiveness, the athleticism they bring to the table, some of the deficiencies in the offense, Jalen can overcome with that athleticism. Ty has athleticism. He is a mobile player, but he is not to the same level with his escapability and stuff as a, Jalen Milroe. So having the way that he wins, how they are limited offensively really hurts him relative to, the way that Jalen Milroe won, and you could build things and do things. It wouldn't always work, and that was proven against Oklahoma as well, where they took his legs away. But that, you could at least lean on that a little bit more than right now. I mean, what defenses are doing, it's not overly complicated. They're changing the pictures up for Todd. They're not really letting them do the stuff late in the play clock like he was before as far as checking to the right plays. Georgia felt really confident they could man up on Alabama's receivers, and boy, were they right. And just so like it's like this perfect storm. They're bringing pressure pretty much in all the critical, downs and situations. More, guys coming than you've got blockers. You've got a lot of long developing stuff offensively. It's just a really bad combination of factors, and that's why I say I understand you can't completely revamp your offense, especially at this point in the season. But you've got to have a little bit more emphasis on doing some quick game stuff like you were doing a little bit earlier in the season as an extension of your run game. You're seeing some of that, but I think it's very predictable right now. I think you got to be more creative in getting that stuff involved, and you've just got to have more balance as far as you saw Oklahoma do it, you saw Auburn do it, and you saw Georgia do it. They were just aggressive, send more guys than they can account for when you're as far as don't have to commit a lot to the run game as far as extra bodies up in the box. In fact, Georgia barely committed anything to the run game. It's like they're making life extremely difficult on themselves, and they've got to figure out a way to get some of this stuff fixed because once again, Oklahoma, especially in Norman with that crowd and Brent Venables having a couple of weeks to prepare, it's not going to be an easy task, I promise you.
We're joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson at Clint R. Lamb on X at Cover Crimson as well, plus on YouTube where they drop all their podcasts and media stuff as well. Clint, I agree with you, man. Listen, I was watching that Georgia defense, and I couldn't help but just, appreciate good ball, man. And when you can bring pressure and just strap guys up on the back end, listen, I know people don't want to hear this, but it was almost a defensive masterclass, man. There's literally it felt like there was nothing we could do because our receivers, who are supposed to be one of the best groups in the country, they were strapped up. And like you mentioned with the long development stuff, Georgia was playing top down. Really, we watched the tape here during the show yesterday. They were giving up the flats and taking everything away deep. And that was really all we could do in the second half. That's what you saw. We just, listen, the only thing you really had open was the late releases by the tight ends or sending, Daniel Hill out there. Everything else was just covered. And then the biggest difference from the first time we saw in the last, and I thought this was going to be the case because watching Georgia, their defense got much better, especially, generating pressure. I know we had some guys banged up front, but they were getting after the quarterback. Ty didn't have much time. There's really just not much you can do. But you're right. Screen game, the first game, we did a lot more of it, whether it was receiver screens, lining, Bernard up in the backfield, getting creative, doing some stuff. A number of different screen game that we saw in the first game. We didn't see that as much in the second. So I don't know, man. Just definitely a number of questions that I had watching this one.
Christian, I will say, man, I don't mean to interrupt, but if Georgia's presenting 3 high safety looks and you've got that amount of room and space to work with in the box and you don't run the football, you are lost as an offense. You are playing right into what they're – and it's the fact that they're seeing it and they still either I don't think that Ryan Grubb is an idiot. I don't think Kalen DeBoer is an idiot. I think there's a reason that they have been very successful all throughout their careers. So I know that they see that. I know you're seeing that and I'm seeing that as kind of people who watch tape and stuff. But the fact that you're getting those kind of looks and you still aren't running the football is terrifying to me because it just tells me, like, you talk about there is zero confidence in the run game. And based off of how it was trending and the fact that there was this obvious commitment to it coming out the gate on Saturday. They ran the football, I think, on their first 4 offensive plays, a 3 and out. And then I think on the first play of the second drive, it's like, so there was this obvious commitment to it early, but just they figured out, I guess we're just not going to be able to have success running the football like there's been in a lot of these other games. Let's just start throwing it all over the place no matter what they present. I don't care I understand Oklahoma's really good up front defensively, but if they present box number opportunities, you have got to at least try to make them pay for that. Alabama I understand they got down quite a bit pretty early on, and that certainly impacted things, but they need to do a much better job of making defenses pay for those types of decisions.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought those points up because if you go back and watch Oklahoma, they used a lot of 3 high safety looks. And what they also did, similar to what Georgia did, they show a lot of guys up front, then they pop out to take away the underneath while they have all those bodies on the back end taking away the deep routes. And it does seem like that has been causing some issues for Ty Simpson. And if you look, I mean, the turnovers that he does throw, because I told people, I know he's been, throwing some stuff and had the turnovers, but if you really watch it, it's not he's doing just dumb things like throwing bad balls. Really, is these defenses are really, throwing different looks at him and disguising, and that's where he's find himself in some trouble. But you're right, though, and to that point, because I think I saw something circulating. People were saying like to call an audible necessary, like in that moment when you do get some of those 3 high looks or where they're clearly not respecting your running game. The only thing I would say to that is in the moment, it is a little tough because people have to remember the communication between the coach and the quarterback shuts off at 15 seconds. So if they would have to do it in that window, which I would argue unless Georgia was disguising, which I had to go back and look and see if I'm pretty sure they were showing that before. You're right. Or whoever was saying that to that point was right. But if they saw it after that 15-second mark, there's no longer communication. I don't know if Ty has the green light to completely call an audible. So those are just things I would mention. But you're right, though. If I'm an offensive coordinator and I'm seeing that I have light boxes, like if you go back and watch Oklahoma, our biggest run was when Daniel Hill, I think it was just like some type of zone to the field, and we won in the numbers game, right? And we really just had an extra blocker than they had a defender, and we ended up going for like a 20-something yard gain. Those are the types of little adjustments that I feel like we're lacking right now that could make a huge difference for us. So I agree 100% with everything you said. I'm going to go back and watch it again now that you mentioned that, because now I'm really curious. Clint, let me ask you this. From what I've seen when I watch our running game, since we're talking about it, because everybody keeps asking me, and I tell them, I mean, when I watch it, it's always either failed execution up front, meaning like we initially have the right guy, but then we don't finish a block, or it could be a situation where we watch a counter play. The guard, typically, he's going to clean up trash or he's supposed to climb up, where you got a tight end already blocking somebody. For whatever reason, Vandermark just goes and helps out there, then doesn't climb up, and the play is dead. And I know the backs still have been contributing to some of these issues in the running game, because I think there's a number of times they don't trust the guys up front. They're not trusting what they're seeing and not hitting the hole right. Have you come up with an answer yet? Because to me, I'm still set on it's a number of different things, from failed execution up front to the backs just not having great vision and doing what they need to do. Anything different on your end?
No, I think you nailed it. I also think there's some tendencies as far as situationally when they run the football. Here lately, it seems like there's been this massive early game commitment to stopping the run. And it's almost like defenses are looking at Alabama's offense and saying, hey, they're going to come out here, they're going to try to run the football early, but if we can shut that down pretty early and, give them some looks that maybe they like, but then we're also anticipating, we can get them out of that pretty quickly. Now, granted, this type of game, the fact that you found yourself down multiple scores pretty quickly in the game, it changes everything. I totally get that. And then at various points, you were down 21 points. And as it starts getting into the second half, that's how you end up with 7 total, carries for your running backs. But right. At the same time, I do feel like there's some, defenses are kind of anticipating situationally when Alabama's going to be running the football. They certainly are not going to do it on second down. A lot of times, it just feels like that's one of the plays that I was talking about with the 3 high safety looks. That was on a 2nd and 8. It wasn't like towards the end of the half or towards the end of the game where it's like they're in some sort of got to score, got to hurry up, got to throw the football. It was a very, very easy, hey, we got a significant numbers advantage here and some space to work with for our backs. Now, Daniel Hill's not this super explosive, super shifty back. So, I mean, that would be like a type of box for like a Kevin Riley who could get to the second level very quickly. I just think overall, as far as solutions to the run game, it's everything. You're still seeing the lift blocks, not being able to sustain blocks, and you're seeing that from the tight ends and the offensive line. It's the situationally, it's the running back's not always seeing it, and that's why I say that there's not one solution. It's all about chipping away at some of these issues, and that's what I kind of hate about not only the injury to Parker Brailsford, but Cam Dewberry. I really thought against Oklahoma and against Auburn, he was starting to become a solution at left guard. I really liked the way he was playing, and it's like you finally start getting that more solidified. And then, of course, Brailsford ends up getting hurt, and, Cam Dewberry ends up missing the game, and now it's kind of completely throwing things back off. Gino Vandemark, against Auburn, you saw him rotating there with Parker Brailsford at center, but because Cam Dewberry wasn't available, now they have to shift and go pretty much exclusively Gino at left guard, which forces all of the snaps on Parker Brailsford at center. And then later in the game, in the fourth quarter, you end up losing Gino Vandemark, and now a redshirt freshman's coming in. It has just been, yes, injuries have played a part. It's one small piece of it. And so I'm hoping that, getting a Cam Dewberry back, hopefully having a more healthy Parker Brailsford, on top of, I think Caden's playing, pretty well, still has his issues in pass protection, handling speed. I think Wilkin Formby at right guard, has been, fairly good. And I think Michael Carroll, despite the fact that he's young and you're still going to see some of those freshman mistakes, I think he's playing pretty well. If you can get that unit back together, I'm hoping that it's not like it's going to fix everything, but you continue to be working in the right direction like you were prior to a lot of these guys getting banged up and stuff. Maybe getting Jam Miller back will help, but, if it's anything like him coming back from some of those other injuries, out the gate, he might be a little slow coming back, so I wouldn't expect Auburn or Vanderbilt or Missouri Jam Miller. It's just a mess right now, and it's probably not going to be something that they can fix in 2025 completely, but they've got to at least start going ahead and making some steps in the right direction if they want to make a push in the playoffs. And it certainly needs to be an emphasis for them in the offseason, just like it was for Georgia after their similar struggles in 2024.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm curious to get your thoughts on, Clint, is Ty Simpson, right? I know we've assessed him a little bit, but I'm curious the latest thoughts that you have with him, because I know a lot of people after this last SEC championship game, people calling his number, people, wanting to see a change there. I don't personally think that's going to make this great difference. Like you mentioned, and like I've said for years now, if you have issues all around the quarterback position, typically changing just that one position is not going to magically fix everything else. You mentioned Milroe earlier. I think it's we've been saying that about him the last couple of years. He wasn't perfect, but he didn't have the help in a lot of areas. And I think that's why a lot of times you saw him struggle with certain things. And now people are finally starting to realize what we've been saying. But when you look at Ty, what do you think? Do you feel like part of his regression is due to the fact that he's got so much pressure on his shoulders with the lack of running game, with, Ryan Williams? I know Jeremy Bernard is, pound for pound the best receiver we have, but you can't help but deny Ryan Williams. You're expecting to have this, playmaker, right? This guy that can, make plays, whether it's off screen game or down the field like we saw last year. He's not really having the season you expected. A number of other things, some inconsistencies up front. Or do you just feel like, maybe he's in his head too much? What's your assessment of Ty and his play?
I definitely think that it's been a compounding problem, and he's probably in his head a little bit. There's no doubt about that. At the same time, quarterback's the easiest position to blame, because when you're just sitting there watching, and you don't, as far as we're watching the run game, and even someone that kind of, we watch film and kind of know specifically what to look for, but at the same time, I still don't have this definitive one, this is the problem with the run game, or this is the one or two problems with the run game, so this is how you fix it. I'm still baffled, so of course the average fan's going to be baffled as well. You're watching the quarterback, and you see those 2 or 3 or 4 maybe plays where the quarterback, it's pretty clear where quarterback needs to get the football to the player. He doesn't do it. It's an off-target throw. And so you see this just overall terrible product, and it's something that you can very easily identify and say, he's the problem. I promise you, granted, after the game, or really during the game, there were moments where I was like, maybe you need to try something else to get a spark, because everything else that you have tried, the product that we were seeing on Saturday was so bad that it was like, and granted, a lot of fans, in the post-game show that were commenting, they were saying they wanted to see Keelan Russell. I was like, I don't think you're going to Keelan there. I just think from his development standpoint, you can't throw him out there against that defense in that moment with everything going wrong. And then, because if he completely falls apart, you're talking about both immediate and long-term development that could be affected if you put him in a very unfair situation. Is what NFL teams, a lot of times, they force their number 1 overall picks to do. It's not fair to them, and it can be pretty damaging to their future. So I would have, and I think Austin Mack is still a really good player too, or has a lot of potential. So there were times where I was like, man, just to try to get something going, maybe you do try a different quarterback, particularly Austin Mack. But with that being said, when you go back and watch, you realize, what I'm doing is I'm watching it. I'm saying, really, what do I want Ty Simpson to do differently? Specifically, what is he not doing that is causing my frustration? And will one of these other players fix that? Do I think Austin Mack is going to come out there and just be able to immediately identify pressure, unblock guys, get the football out? If they're calling the same plays they call with Ty, it's still long developing stuff. Maybe you can say, okay, he can throw the football down the field, and maybe it's with better accuracy, so maybe you can hit him on an explosive. But they're not respecting your run game anyway, so they're not really presenting a bunch of opportunities to throw the football down the field. So it's like, while I think Ty is a part of this struggle, I also think that just in a similar situation as Jalen Milroe last year, everything is going wrong around him, so it's very hard to distinguish what's on the quarterback and what's on everybody else, and that includes the play calling. But I just think Milroe, his skill set was able to overcome that a little bit more, and he can at least make some things happen on given plays to kind of maybe get the offense going, get a little bit of momentum. Ty being more – now, he's not a pocket guy. He's certainly mobile, but just kind of being a guy who wants to win from the pocket and really dissect and get the football out. It's not lending itself right now with everything else going wrong around him for him to have a lot of success. So I think it's a combination of both. But the quarterback, that's just part of it. Like, you get a lot or all the praise when things are going well, and you're going to take a lot of the criticism and stuff when things aren't. That's part of it. But at the same time, I still think Todd's a good quarterback. But he's also not one of those quarterbacks like Bryce Young. He had the ability to elevate. He just was one of those types of players. I don't think Ty Simpson is that type of quarterback. But if you have things going right around him, he can thrive and really have a lot of success. They had more going on around him early in the season, and you saw that player. The fact that a lot of that has either diminished or defenses started figuring out what they were and weren't good at and started game planning accordingly, one way or another, has put him in a position where he's certainly not able to carry this offense. And this coaching staff is figuring out, if you don't have Ty Simpson to compensate, you have to figure out your run game. Like, you can't just keep, hammering your head against the wall. And so I think there's this commitment to that, but it's just not working. And I think it's creating a very inconsistent, very awful product.
Yeah, and it brings me back to the whole debate, game manager versus game changer. My former teammate Cam Newton, got heat for when he mentioned this, but I think people have to understand, it on surface level it sounds one way, but I think what you're explaining is when you don't have a bunch going on around you that's helping you out. You kind of need a game changer to be able to overcome some of those deficiencies versus Ty. I would label him a little bit more on the game manager level, but in terms of those amazing Sunday throws he makes, those are game changing type plays. But in terms of his overall style, I feel like it's a little bit more on the game manager type of things versus Milroe was a little bit more of that game changer just because of that athletic ability and whatnot. So it's interesting hearing you explain that. Clint, real quick, and I appreciate you hanging on with us so long. I know we have plenty to talk about. In terms of the playoffs, man, all right, we got Oklahoma coming up. You talked about it, not going to be an easy game. You got to go to Norman to face Oklahoma. Could be some weather there. I know they had snow last week or something. Jim Nagy, a friend of ours here on the show, he posted that. But in terms of this whole playoff picture with Alabama, you got that Oklahoma game. You win that one. You got Indiana, number 1 ranked team who just beat Ohio State. We just had Chris Lowe on here. He said he was he went to watch Indiana play, and he was, really impressed, especially by their defense. Just real quick, your overall analysis of, where we got seated. And then the second part of that is what to you would be defined as success for Kalen DeBoer in this Alabama football team in year 2 with the upcoming playoff run. The fact that we made the playoffs, do you feel like that is successful enough for you? Do you think, do we have to at least win one game if we need to make more of a run? What would, in your mind, be a successful year 2 run in these playoffs?
Well, I think the way you looked against Georgia might have changed some fans' perception of what should be considered a successful season. If they would have lost a close one to Georgia, and then you go and you lose a close one to Oklahoma or whatever. I think, me personally, and I'm still on board with this, you got to think, I mean, in year 2, he took them to the SEC championship. He didn't do that in year 1. He took them to the playoffs. He didn't do that in year 1. He got to 10 wins already. He didn't do that in year 1. So there has been steps in the right direction. It has looked difficult each and every step of the way. I mean, whether you win or you lose, it has looked not painful, but it has been it's been a very anxiety-driven season for fans. And so, but now that you've got that terrible loss against Georgia, now fans are saying, like, even if you lose the close one against Oklahoma, I think probably there will be some disappointment. And if you just would have lost a close game with Georgia, I think everybody was expecting that in a lot of ways. Then if you go and lose in the first round of the playoffs, I still think people would, more so appreciate what took place. But at the same time, like I said, that's not my expectations for him and for this staff. I think that they've already taken steps in the right direction. I think at this point, considering how it looked on Saturday, I mean, I'm more so looking at this like you're playing with house money at this point, because I wasn't necessarily expecting them to get into the college football playoff after you lose by 21 points. I wouldn't have been shocked if they would have been left out. And so just getting there, it's like, hey, why don't we just take a step back and enjoy this? Like, we get a couple of weeks to continue to talk about football. Alabama's still technically in the hunt. And let's take some of this pressure off of all of us, right? I mean, as far as, like, let's have fun watching football again. I feel like every Saturday we get ready to watch Alabama, and it's just start to finish just nonstop anxiety. And, why aren't they winning by more? Why are they losing? It's like, just, I mean, it's gotten to a boiling point. But as far as, Kalen DeBoer, and I think the team feels a lot of that. I really do. But at the same time, that Georgia loss and the way it looked, I don't think it helped them any. So there's probably a lot of people who are listening. They're like, no, this isn't good enough. You go now, especially if they get blown out by Oklahoma, you're going to hear things get really loud at that point. If they're competitive and they lose another close football game, maybe you see a little bit more grace or patience from fans. But I mean, I can at least acknowledge when you line it up compared to last season, it is definitely moving in the right direction. Maybe not at the pace that a lot of fans wanted to, and maybe based off of our own preseason expectations and the fact that I thought this looked like a very complete football team on paper, and they were actually going to be really good offensively and have a complementary defense. What fans have actually gotten has probably fallen well short of those expectations. But while there has been some disappointment on that front, I do think we need to acknowledge that it is at least a step in the right direction compared to last season.
No doubt about it. Definitely a step in the right direction. And what they say is, year 3 is normally when you really kind of take flight. And so, like you said, trajectory is definitely there, and hopefully we can be at least competitive, like you said. I mean, I think you go in there, you're competitive, you do what you can, and as long as it's not like some blowout type deal that just kind of leaves you a little uninspired and even more concerned, then I think fans will at least say, hey, man, we're making progress, like you said. Clint, man, we could do this all day, but I know I got to let you run, man. I got plenty of questions, but I'm saving for I'm gonna save them for next week for sure, because we got plenty of time until we play Oklahoma as well. But as always, man, big thanks for hopping on here and tell all the folks, man, how they can keep up with all the good work you do.
Absolutely. Good talking to you, Christian. Yeah, you can find me at Cover Crimson on Twitter, at Clint R. Lamb on Twitter is the personal account. We got a YouTube channel, Cover Crimson, and then also wherever you listen to your podcast, search the Cover Crimson Podcast Network. That podcast network is important, and give us a download or a follow over there as well. We appreciate everybody who joins us on our show for the conversations, and Christian, I certainly appreciate you. This is one of the, as I've said many times, it's one of the highlights of my week. I feel like it's therapeutic for me to work through some things, so I appreciate you having me on, brother.
Oh, always an open space for you to come unload some of that stress, man. Always appreciate you having the time for us, man. Appreciate you, Clint, man. Be easy, brother.
Yep, good talking to you.
Yes, sir. You too, man. Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, man. I always enjoy talking with him, man. Like he said, a little bit of a therapy session. Now we'll open the doors for therapy for you guys. 205-342-9904. Let you guys to respond to what we talked about with Chris Loeb on 3, Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, or whatever else is on your mind, man. We're here for right here on the Miller's Edge, Top 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. I'm going to you guys. We'll come back. All right. What's up, everybody? All right. Sorry, we've been rolling with the guests, man, but now we're opening the doors to you guys. Chase, sorry about that. I know we got to probably catch up on a number of breaks, but I appreciate you and Reed and company always being so flexible, man. If you guys haven't, quick reminder, hit that like button. If you haven't already, watch. There's gonna be always 1, 2, 3 people leave when Christian asks to hit the like button. People are like, oh no, we don't want to do it. It takes not even a second, man. It just helps us out. It's free. It just helps the algorithm out, helps us push the content, get more guests, keep building things up. So that's all we ask, man. Hit that like button, subscribe if you guys enjoy the content, and trust me, we've got plenty more coming y'all's way. You guys I asked you guys, who would you be interested in us trying to get on here from a player standpoint? So I already reached out. Hopefully we get that set up sometime this week before they really jump back into it next week. I mean, they're definitely practicing, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, next week they're playing a game. So going to see if we can get at least one guy on here. So I've already been working on that, man. So I got you guys covered. And if there's any other people too, I told you guys we were going to have the film guy on here, but as you saw, I mean, we were kind of running back to back, and I think he needed to do it a little bit earlier. We already had Chris Lowe scheduled, so hopefully we can move him to either tomorrow or the next or sometime this week, and if not, even just next week. But we'll be getting him on here too. Brooks Austin from the Film Guy Network. He'll be joining us. Well, it's supposed to be today, but we're rescheduling. But we're going to you guys next. So if you guys got any questions and stuff too, let me go back and look, see what I missed. I wanted to get to some of this defensive tape, so maybe I'll stay on after we finish the radio side of things. If you guys want me to break some of the defense down, obviously not nearly as much really to nitpick there, but if there is anything that stood out you want us to cover, we'll do it. Question, please explain what happens when players get draft grades. So, great question. So typically, the way it worked with us when Coach Saban was here, the scouts and everybody, NFL personnel, I mean, they're always communicating, right? Because, I mean, they're asking him questions and stuff. So he's always in communication. But it would be around, I believe, like this time of year, like when we kind of have that window that he would probably start discussing it. I'm trying to think if because it had to be before the bowl. I don't remember if it was. I don't think it was after. Maybe it was after like the full season concluded. But you get my point. It was either in this window or after the season. I can't remember. I'm kind of mixing it up. But long story short, the way it works is if you were a junior or redshirt sophomore, any draft eligible player or a senior, he would meet with you. Really more so with like the underclassmen guys, because you would be making a decision if you're leaving or coming back, and he would just inform you. And the advice he would give is, look, if you have a first round grade, he literally almost always recommended that you leave, believe it or not, even though you'd probably be shocked. Like, why would he encourage? Because he was honest. He would tell you straight up. He would say, I think, you should, take advantage of this, that, whatever. And he would definitely still tell you, like, if he felt like there's stuff you needed to work on or maybe coming back to develop a little bit more. But that was his thing. If you get a first round grade, you probably should leave. So that's typically how it worked. But like seniors and stuff, I mean, it was a little bit different. It wasn't like some type of conversation. He would just fill you in on, hey, this is kind of where, they've been saying that, because the way it works is different people have different grades, right? So one team might have you as a late first rounder, the other team might have you as a third rounder. I mean, I'll give you an example. I had several teams have me as a late second rounder, right? Because remember, I was coming off of my hamstring injury. So I had some teams saying like, oh, we're not too concerned with that. I mean, we have them as like a late second round grade. I had one team, Wyatt's Green Bay Packers, that called me and were asking my thoughts on being a undrafted free agent. So you see quite the contrast there. I was like, what the hell? So the way the draft stuff works is crazy, man. Speaking of that, dude, I use Siri on my phone real quick. I was trying to use Siri to like send somebody a message, and my phone accidentally sent it to like the Bears defensive coordinator on accident. I just realized it's like 2 days ago because I had his number as a text thread from when I was coming out and getting drafted, and he had like texted me, was asking me some stuff, and I guess Siri mixed the names up, and I texted this dude a whole different thing. It was like talking about a refill for my dog's thyroid medication. I know this dude probably was like, what the hell? But I literally have probably like, I'm not even kidding, probably 50 contacts of like NFL coaches just all in my phone just from like that whole process. I mean, it's a crazy process, man. recruiting's crazy, but the draft process with the combine and the meetings and the visits, man, it's wild. Any questions that we missed? Let's see. I think I saw somebody ask about should Ty leave. I was going to ask Clint his thoughts on that, but I'm going to save it for next week because I know we were going late. I'm going to be honest with you. That's going to be a hell of a conversation because if you asked me that midway through the year, I thought everything was on track for he's going to play. Well, not, he is playing himself in the first round without a doubt. He's out of here. Boom. Now you got a competition between Keelan Russell and Austin Mack, then the two young guys that we just signed. Now, with how he's been playing, even though I still feel that, Ty's still probably going to have a number of first-round grades like I just talked about, right? I mean, it's not just one. I mean, he's going to have a number of people having him as a first-round grade, even though he struggled a little bit. I just think there's a good chance that he might consider coming back because I thought that even early on before he started playing good, in my head before the season started, even when he was named starter, I'm like, this guy waited all this time to be the starter here at Alabama. He loves Alabama. He's a competitor. Everything about him screams, hey, I'm not going to rush on to the NFL. He started playing some damn good football, and I'm like, okay, that's probably changed. Now where we're at, I don't know. I totally could see him wanting to come back to develop further. But now what kind of position? I mean, we knew this position was going to come up if he did come out, but like you got a young Keelan Russell who's probably eager to get out there and play. I mean, the dude was like the top-rated guy coming out of high school when it was all said and done. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We're back. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday edition of Miller's Edge. Tied 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Talking is an understatement, man. We've been talking a whole hell of a lot with a lot of people, a lot of good people, and it's been great. Great conversation, man. Really fun day here on the show. Yesterday was great. We've been having a great week here on the Miller's Edge, man. Shout out to everybody listening, all our producers behind the scenes, and everything we've got going on. It's been really fun and going really well. So shout out to you guys. All right, let's go to the phone lines, 205-342-9904. We got our buddy Mike up first. Mike, you still with us?
Still with you.
There he is. What's up, Mike?
Good week, man. Great week going.
Yeah, man. Listen, we got to turn a negative into a positive. And the weekend was a little bit of a negative, and now we're having fun,
I just want to go off what Chris Lowe was talking about. So, after the Florida State game, if you were going to go around and tell everybody that, we're still going to have problems with the run game all year, inconsistent kicking, Ryan Williams non-factor, still can't stop explosive run plays first half of the season, but it gets better. Offense is really good, but then it gets worse. I mean, everybody's going to say what? 8-4, 7-5. You get all that information, but somehow we found a way. People stepped up. Coaches stepped up. We got a good recruiting class come in. Schedule next year doesn't look that bad. So, I mean, I'm excited. I think, again, the way college football is now, the years of a team like when you played, steamrolling people for a decade and a half, that was fun, but I don't think we're going to see that for a while. We're not going to see that for a while from anybody,
Yeah. You just don't really see that at all across the board. I mean, and big thanks to the transfer portal, NIL, and all that. It's even the playing field. But you're right, and I think if you take a step back, like you're saying, and really just say, hey, man, and then I take a step further, Mike. Look at all the teams or schools, I should say, that have fired coaches and had hired coaches, and whether it's the LSUs, whoever, this and that, and like their ceiling with these new coaches has not even been relatively close of what you've seen out of the likes of what Coach DeBoer has done so far through 2 years, man. You got to step back and appreciate that. I think inevitably our standard is just so high that any other school would be pleased saying, all right, year 1, 9-3, year 2, 10-3, conference championship, playoff berth. But here, man, that's Alabama for you. Just like Courtney Morgan said in that interview thing. Here, they get mad on what the damn coach is wearing on the sideline.
I know it. Yeah. But I think definitely going the right way. Great recruiting class coming in. I'm excited about the way things are going, and I'm happy with the way the year progressed. So I'm all for it. Hey, I've been wanting to ask you this since late Sunday night. Yeah. So let's say we got screwed out. Let's say Alabama gets screwed out of the playoff. You're 2016, and you guys get left out for some reason. And they call a meeting, and Greg Byrne and Saban comes in. They go, look, we got, obviously you saw we got left out. We're not playing in a bowl game. All right. So you take that all in. You get back to the dorm. You're sitting around with Ruben and Tony Brown and stuff like that. What's that conversation look like to a player?
Man, it really depends on the player. I'll be honest with you, Mike, and it might look a little bit different nowadays than it did back then. Back then, we didn't have NIL and these other things that they kind of sit back and say, "Oh man, yeah, we're just chilling with our brand new Mercedes and all this money in our bank accounts." We didn't have any of that, and we really just wanted to play football. Because I always tell people, football is one of the few sports where you spend nearly all year doing something, whether it's workouts, spring practice, meetings, whatever the case may be. And you only get 12 guaranteed regular season opportunities. So, and Coach Saban used to tell us all the time, you guys work 365 days a year to literally only go out there and really reap the benefits of it 12 guaranteed times. Now it could be 15, 16, whatever. So I think naturally, if you're a competitor, you would probably be a little frustrated. But I could see a world nowadays where some of these guys who already, talk about sitting out of bowl games and stuff like that, I wouldn't be shocked if some guys just kind of like, if we're not playing for a championship, we don't want to do it anyways. But I don't think that's the right approach, because I know there's probably another half of those football teams that are, on the contrary, saying, well, damn. And so but I will say this, there's no way Marcus Freeman and the administration just said, hey, we're not going to listen to any of our football players. We're just going to cancel this just to prove a point. We don't care what they say. Without a doubt, I would put a lot of money, if I had to bet on this, that they held a team meeting and they probably addressed it and said, hey, we're going to do what you guys want to do. Let's talk about it. And they probably came together collectively and agreed on that, even though there probably were some people that didn't want to do that. But I think the majority probably agreed on that, because to me, and if they didn't do that, shame on them. But there's just no way in the world they would not listen to the players in that scenario and cancel that game on them. I don't think they would do that, and I hope they didn't do that.
Yeah, I hope not. Anyway, I think the simplest thing to do to fix this whole thing is somehow end up with 12 or 16 conferences. Maybe split the Big Ten, the SEC up, and then however you end up with a champion by the Army-Navy game, just put those 12 or 16 teams into the playoffs. And then you don't have to worry about who plays who out of conference. If Tennessee wants to play USC, Ohio State, whoever, and then Georgia wants to play 3 cupcakes, it doesn't matter, because you have to beat every team in your conference to get out. So strength of schedule's gone, committee's gone, and then Notre Dame would have to join the conference, of course. So, but at least everything would be settled on the field, and nobody would care who's playing who.
Yeah. I think Notre Dame joining a conference would be a pretty quick fix to help kind of settle a lot of these debates. I think what Coach Saban said about fixing the whole tiebreaker scenario in the ACC, that would go a long way. I think it's just little changes that could. I'm not saying they make it perfect, but they would help out a lot.
Yeah, well, they're probably not joining the ACC after all those comments yesterday, but they can come down. They can come down here and play if they think it's their fans think
they better be careful with doing that. I don't think they're confident enough to do that, Mike. That would be quite the challenge. Yeah. Mike, we're going to try to squeeze in one more call.
Yes, thanks a lot, man. We'll see you,
brother.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas, brother. Thank you so much. All right, let's keep it moving real quick, so I know we're running low on time. Who do we have next? We have Mike first. Then we had, I think, Randy up next. Randy, welcome in. Randy, you there? Going once, twice. Randy might not be there anymore. Was that the only call that we had, guys, left on there?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good deal. Oh, was that Jackson?
It is. It is.
All right, there we go. Hey, listen, I'm getting better with the voice recognition. I mean, I knew something was up last time when you jumped out. I'm like, wait, Reed is either sick or that sounds like somebody else. All right, we got Jackson here. All right, let me check my email real quick. I know we get a number of app messages now on here, and I can just check them here. So let me see if we have one on here. Today is the 9th, so we've got one. So Willie from the Western Slope, I think that's out in Colorado. He says, create a separate playoff for the Power Four. That was another thing I was thinking. We were talking with Chris, right? Maybe just have like the group of 5 teams, like create like a championship for them. Like, what is it in basketball? What's the name of the other tournament? Like, you got the main tournament, then what's the secondary tournament? Jackson?
The NIT.
Yeah. I mean, maybe create a form of that. Maybe something like that could potentially work. I don't know. I guess we'd have to see. But big thanks for that app message. And again, you guys can always still leave. I know we don't get to them much because it's a little bit different now, but I do get them on my email directly now, so I actively check them throughout the show. So if you guys want to jump back to leaving those on that Tide 100.9 app, don't forget about that. Tia says right here, Noah was reported that Notre Dame captains decided not to play. The Notre Dame AD said it was unanimous. The players decided not to play. Yeah, so that's all right. So that lines up with what I was thinking. There was no way that they could cancel that without speaking with the players themselves. I think that had to be a decision on the players' behalfs, and that's what Tia just said. So that clears that up. Here's a conversation that I don't want to dive in too early because I want to save it for when we have more time. I know we're combining breaks and we only have about 3 minutes left, but I see everybody's talking about it right now, and we briefly mentioned it. So we'll just jump into it real quick. We'll dabble in it, but then we'll circle back at another moment. We mentioned the whole Ty Simpson debate. Jackson, while I have you on here, I want to ask you, man, in terms of his future and what he should do. If you're Ty Simpson or you're a coach right now, how do you see this whole thing playing out? Do you think Ty should come back, or do you see him coming back? What do you think, Jackson?
I could see Ty coming back just based on how the latter half of the season has gone on. But me and White were actually talking about this a few minutes ago. If he does go into the playoff and kind of, reverts back to form, I could see him leaving. But I mean, right now, this is probably one of the weaker quarterback classes that we've seen in a while. Probably based on last year's quarterback class being so large. But yeah, I think he's still one of the top quarterback prospects in this draft class. But just based on how many guys there are and the performances we've seen so far throughout the country. So, I mean, if Ty does come back, that throws into question what Keelan and what Austin Mack want to do. If the coaches will have an open quarterback competition or not. So there are a lot of questions that, would have to be had should Ty return.
Wait, well, you said if they want to have an open quarterback competition. I mean, I feel like you have to at that point. You think they just hand out a job like that?
I mean, if you have your returning starter coming back,
oh, you're saying if Ty comes back. Oh,
right.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I missed that part. Okay, yeah. If Ty comes back, yeah. I mean, he should be automatically the starter.
Right.
I know, like when Jalen came back last year. I mean, you had a new head coach. So, like, what's funny is like some people were like, I thought it was weird that he kind of got the nod, but at the same time, when you have a new coach, like anytime you have a starter coming back, they get the nod. But when you have a new coach, yes, that does kind of open the door for maybe that coach to want to experience a little bit of a battle or experiment with it. But yeah, no, I'm with you. My thing is this. I mean, if the grade is there, you got to take it. I think he needs
right.
to.
I agree.
That to me is there because, like Tia just said too. I mean, he comes back. Here's the thing: if he wants to come back, if I'm Kalen DeBoer, you got two options, right? You can take a guy back that has experience, can win you football games. I know he's kind of gone through a little bit of a slump, but you know what he's capable of, and then you should expect that he's even better next year. However, on the contrary, you do risk losing your prized 5-star recruit, the first quarterback that you brought in, and potentially the other guy that you have a lot of expectations for as well in terms of Austin Mack. I mean, he's running out of time. I think he only has maybe 1-2 at the most years of eligibility left. So you imagine that the timetable is probably pretty high for him.
And I think next year's quarterback class will be a lot tougher to get a higher grade in.
Yeah. Well, it could be. That's definitely something to consider. All right. I know we got to get out of here a little early, and I know we just brought that big conversation up, but don't worry, we'll talk more about it tomorrow. But I want to make sure we stay on schedule because we did have to combine some breaks because I know we've been going a little bit over with all the guests that we have. But that being said, big thanks to everybody joining us today. All our guests, Chris Lowe on 3, Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson. I'll keep working on all the other guests that we have throughout the week. So make sure you guys stay in the loop. Do that by following us on X and everything else at the Miller's Edge. Downloading Tide 100.9, the app, all that good stuff, keeping up to date with all that. And we'll keep you guys posted. Big thanks to all our listeners, man. We've been having fun this week. Hopefully we can continue to make sure you guys like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Share the video, share the channel. That way we keep growing, keep getting more and more stuff going for you guys. And overall, just keep having fun right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. And also don't forget about our friends before I get out of here, over at R&R Cigars. If you're in the market for the best humidor in the Southeast, check out R&R Cigars. 2703 Gary Fitz Street is where you can find them here in Tuscaloosa. They've got the mansion right there for you. And trust me, man, you won't be disappointed. They've got the ambiance. They got everything. TVs throughout. Favorite place to go watch sporting events, whether it's boxing, they put on those fights, football, basketball, baseball, you name it. They've got it. So make sure you guys head over to R&R Cigars. Plus, use that code Miller's Edge on their website, rnrcigars.com. That'll do it for us right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Arch Support Experts. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
At Tuscaloosa.
All right, guys, that'll do it. I got to get out of here. I got, I think somebody's here to do an appointment. But on the way out, if you guys don't mind, hit that like button. That always helps us out. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.